We've already done a few videos on the Air Jordan 5, which is one of my all-time favorite sneakers, and I want to do just one more to illustrate just how crazy the sneaker game has become. In my hands, I've got two pairs of 1999 Jordan 5 Retros. These are the first two pairs of Air Jordan 5s that Nike ever retroed, and they're the only two pairs that were released in 1999. Check out this pair right here while we briefly discuss the history of the Air Jordan 5, and then we'll get into the 2013 models. This black and silver pair is actually the very first pair of shoes that I bought and kept dead stock in my whole collection. The shoes were inspired by World War II Mustang fighter jets, and Tinker Hatfield was the designer. The Jordan 5 was the third pair of Air Jordans that Tinker designed, and they were inspired by the Mustang fighter jet because Tinker thought that Michael's game was a lot like the jet. He sort of hung out at the perimeter and then attacked when the enemy least expected it. So the Jordan 5 has a lot of firsts. It's the first pair of Jordans with a clear, icy sole. It's also the first pair of Jordans to have 3M metallic silver, which is going to be the color and material of the tongue. They're also the first Jordans to feature lace locks. And this shoe actually started a lace lock craze in the early 90s, where there were actually kiosks in malls that sold nothing but shoelaces and lace locks. The Jordan 5 is the third pair of Air Jordans to feature a visible air window. It was also featured on the 6 and then no more for the entire Air Jordan line. So now that we've talked about the history of the Air Jordan 5, let's look at the 2013 models. And this year has for sure been the year of the Jordan 5. And I don't know about you, but as I'm looking at all of these shoes, I can't help but feel like Nike is diluting the Air Jordan 5. When I go into like a polo store and I see that wall of polo shirts, it's like a rainbow of every color from black to white and everything in between, and I look at these Jordan 5s, something looks very familiar here. So let's get into it. So this year we've had two pairs of fire red Air Jordan 5s. Here they are. You can see very, very slight differences from one to the other. Nike basically changed the black to red, the red to black, the silver to black, so on and so forth. Very, very minor differences between these shoes. They're really, really cool. I don't know if you knew this or not, but Michael Jordan actually scored his all-time career high in the white and fire red Jordan 5. He scored 69 points against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Let's have a look at the grape pair. So before Nike released these grapes in 2013, the grapes were retroed in 2006, and they sold out like crazy. They climbed to about $500 in value before Nike released the second retro of the shoe, and then they tanked down to about $300 because everyone would rather have the newer pair, which is nice, clean, crispy, no yellowing. The older pairs are all going to have a little bit of yellowing and aging spots. So these grapes are very, very popular, even though Michael actually never wore them back in 1990 when the 5 was originally released. These shoes were so popular that Nike retroed a black grape version of them. It's the exact same shoe, but in black suede. And believe it or not, the black grapes are the most valuable of the 4 pairs of 2013 Jordans that we've talked about so far. These shoes are fetching about $400. The grapes are around $300, and these fire reds are somewhere between $200 and $300. And now let's look at the most recent pair of Jordan 5s that Nike has retroed, the Fears. These shoes were a part of the Fear pack. They're Sequoia in color, which is sort of a dark green, gray, blackish color. They're kind of a hybrid between the Army Olives from '06, the Bin 23s, and the 3Ms from the Raging Bull pack. And these shoes are going for about $500. They're the most desirable of the 3 shoes from the Fear pack. And the reason why they're so expensive is because of the color, the materials, and the rarity. And that's what the sneaker game has become. What color is it? Are the materials premium, and how rare is it? And that's a far cry from what the sneaker game used to be like back in the day, when it was just, is the shoe cool, and there were just a couple colors of them. So now everyone's crazy about the Fear pack, but all that's going to change really soon, because just this coming week, Nike's going to release a pair of Dorenbecker 5s. It reminds me of what happened last year. We got a pair of Dorenbecker 9s, and it was the same year that Nike released about 10 different pairs of Air Jordan 9 retros. And the Dorenbeckers came out, they went way up in value, people went crazy. The same thing's going to happen with the Dorenbecker 5s, and I wish that Nike would change it up a little, instead of just taking a new fabric, a new material, and cranking it through the machines to come up with yet another color of the same shoe that they've been making over and over and over. The Dorenbeckers are going to come with a flashlight, and they're going to glow in the dark under black lights. They're really, really cool. But guess what? About a week after that, Nike's coming out with the 3 Lab 5s, and people are going to forget about the Dorenbeckers. The 3 Lab 5s are a pair of Jordan 5s that's made out of nothing but elephant print. And that seems like it's really exciting and a really big deal, but it's not. Because elephant print has been available on Nike ID for the past few months. So really, what's Nike doing? They're taking extra sheets of this elephant print that they're charging us an arm and a leg to customize Dunks and Air Maxes with, and they're just cranking out another pair of Air Jordan 5s. They're going to be like $185, I believe, maybe even more, and they're going to sell out like that. And then guess what? Another one's coming out. October 5th, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air inspired Air Jordan 5s. They're going to be inspired by Will Smith's crazy outfits from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He was known for wearing Air Jordans and crazy Nikes during that show. Those shoes are going to be grayish silver with purple and green accents. They're going to sell out a whopping $185, and we're getting closer and closer and closer to $200 for Air Jordan Retros. The next pair of Jordan 5s to come out are going to be the Oreos, and they're going to release on Black Friday, which is interesting because Black Friday last year, we got the Bread 4s, and the Black Friday the year before that was the Black and Cement 3s. So the 3s, the 4s, and boom, now the 5s on Black Friday, and you know they're going to sell out. And that Oreo colorway is going to sort of fill the gap between Oreo 4s and Oreo 6s. So now we'll have 4s, 5s, and 6s. And those will be hot for a short while. And then Christmas time, the Laney 5s. Michael Jordan went to Laney High School. The colors were blue and yellow. And so Nike's going to make a pair of Air Jordan 5s inspired by Laney High School. They did that before in the year 2000. Back then, the shoes didn't sell very well at all. I'm sure the new ones are going to sell out right away. And if you could imagine the grape shoe with blue and yellow on it instead of the purple and blue, and that's pretty much what the Laney High edition is going to look like. We also found out this week that we might get a pair of black suede Laneys. There's a pair on eBay that all of the sneaker websites have been talking about recently. And I'm not surprised at all, because really, what does it take for Nike to take a shoe that's white and make it black suede? Boom, just crank black suede through the machines that are already calibrated to crank out Air Jordan 5s. So with all this madness of all these Air Jordan 5s coming out, I was inspired to go to the fabric store. So we can talk about what's really going on here. Here's a swatch of white leather, probably similar to the material that it took to make these 3 shoes. And oh, they're so popular, oh, they're selling out, let's make them in black suede. So over here, a swatch of black suede. Looks a lot like these black grapes and the black Laneys. I've also got a swatch of black leather. Of course, I couldn't find a Sequoia color that matched perfectly, but you get the point. Over here, ooh, look at this. Silver. Reminds you of the Bel Airs, huh? And then lastly, red suede. And I know what this reminds you of. The Toro Bravos. The Raging Bulls. These are one half of the Raging Bull pack, and they're my favorite of all of the Jordan Retros that have come out that are not the original colorway. My second favorite would be the Tokyo 23s, which is the same shoe in yellow. So this shoe was such a hit with the red suede that Nike made a pair of Toro Bravo 4s this last year. They sold out right away. And we have rumors of an Air Jordan 14 coming out in red suede, and also a grade school pair of Air Jordan 10s coming out in red suede. So one last thing that I want to discuss is when you find out that Nike's going to retro a new shoe. For example, in December, we have the 10s and 12s and also the 11s to look forward to. Nike doesn't usually produce a whole lot of 11s, but with those 10s and 12s, don't be surprised if we start seeing a whole bunch of different Air Jordan 10s, Air Jordan 12s. Oftentimes when we see a new retro, it sort of opens the floodgate to Nike releasing that shoe over and over and over and over again in a bunch of different colors. So we just found out that the Air Jordan 2 is coming out in white, red, and black. Don't be surprised if we see a whole bunch of Air Jordan 2s. And lastly, next year looks like it's going to be the year of the Air Jordan 6. We already found out that the white and infrared pair is being released, and we also found out that they're going to retro the Carmines. And I would venture to say that we're going to see a whole bunch of different Air Jordan 6s. This year, 2013, the year of the 5. 2012 was really the year of the 4, even though we had like 10 pairs of 9s. And 2011 was the year of the 3. So 3, 4, 5, what do you think next year is going to be? My guess is the Air Jordan 6. I bet we'll see a whole bunch of different colors. I'd love to see a Gatorade edition. Michael Jordan wore the Air Jordan 6 in the Be Like Mike Gatorade campaign, and how cool would it be if we got a pair of 6s that were orange, green, and white?